Do we have to have the door closed or just,
Well, yes and no, I don't know.
Crack a little bit?
yeah, crack a little bit, just get a little air in
The
here.
air does roll through much faster when it's open.
Yeah, just open a little
What is
bit.
that?
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah.
Okay, we're ready when you're ready. Okay,
Welcome to the Author's Edge radio show with Guy Freer and Bob Price. Now, this show airs nationwide on the My Genre Radio Network, Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. Each week on their show, they help authors create books that transform our lives and imagination. Through radio excellence, they create a unique community resource, one that promotes, connects, and fosters a sense of well-being. Gael and Bob maintain a focus on sharing books, publishing, marketing, and writing solutions. They serve listeners by providing outlets for their creative skills and energy, and they help them flourish in the competitive marketplace. Their weekly show provides intros, writing spotlights, helps you in promoting your book, your writing, your publishing, your marketing tidbits, and much more. Okay, audience, here's Gael and Bob.
all right, welcome to the Author's Edge Show. I am their guest co-sharing host today, Dr. Stan Fine, and I want to welcome you to the Author's Edge Show with Bob Price and Gael. And like to first of all welcome because it's their first shows on the air. Welcome, welcome. And is there anything you want to add today before we start with this lovely guest? Any-
No,
You
I'm
ready to
just
rock
having
it?
a great, I'm rocking it. I'm loving it.
It's radio. Either you get the bug or you don't get the bug. That's just the way it is. How about you, Bob?
I'm great.
He's
Fun.
good. He's good. He's having fun. He's getting the bug. He's getting the bug. Well, let me flip it back to our august co-host, and why don't you tell us about the show today?
Well, today we're talking to Roseanne Standard. The serene scenes in the art of Roseanne Standard reflect the world around her and her love of the peacefulness of nature. The sights and sounds of nature feed my soul and create a sense of wonder in me. She was born in southeast Missouri in Poplar Bluff. Several generations of her family on both sides have called Poplar Bluff home. Roseanne's interest in art began at a young age when she was inspired by her mother, Roseanne Barber's interest and talent in art. In high school, Roseanne entered and won awards in local art shows. She attended the University of Missouri and Columbia as an art major. Roseanne eventually transferred to Kansas University in Lawrence and pursued a degree in advertising and editorial art. At one point, considering a career as an art educator, she also has teaching certificate for kindergarten through high school. Roseanne has a love of history, archaeology, and anthropology. For the most part, her professional career, Roseanne has been a graphic designer working with studios and agencies in Chicago, Sacramento, Fresno, Hannibal, Northeast Missouri, Washington, D.C., Southeast Missouri. She's also an accomplished illustrator, winning a number of awards for her work. In February 2016, Roseanne established the Creekside Studio of Art and Design. Fine art, art commissions, and graphic designs are services provided to clients across the U.S. and abroad. Roseanne and her 3 dogs and 1 cat used to live on 123 acres of the family farm in western Butler County on 10 Mile Creek. The farm, creek, and animals supply Roseanne with an endless stream of subject matter. The sunlight crosses over our valley from morning until night, creating lovely, shifting images which inspire me daily. Roseanne was born and raised in Poplar Bluff, Missouri, the daughter of Dr. Marvin and Rose Barber. She is the middle daughter of 4 siblings. Holy Toledo. Roseanne's believed husband, Reverend David Hutt, passed away in November of 2017. She has 2 married daughters, Samantha Klotz and Jessica Patterson, and 3 grandchildren. In May of 2021, she married John Standard. They had been friends for many years prior to the death of their longtime spouses. In fact, their families have been connected for generations. Roseanne's daughter, also accomplished artist, Jessica is a landscape designer, and Samantha's a sign artist and illustrator working at Trader Joe's. Her inspirations, the Hudson River School of Artists, has been a long-time inspiration to Roseanne. as well as the Impressionist movement. I love capturing the light of the early morning on fields and water. For a long time, I have worked with a very realistic approach, but am now working in a looser, more expressive style. I think it implies the movement and liveliness of nature in a way more static representations cannot. Many people viewing my work will say, I remember swimming and fishing there as a child. Her medium, Roseanne mediums, are acrylic paints, graphite drawings, and pen and ink drawings. In the last couple of years, I have felt compelled to work on large canvases. I find it immensely satisfying to see the painting emerge from this large format. So, Roseanne, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you
Very,
much.
very impressive background there you got.
Thank you. Well, it's been a wandering road that's brought me to where I am, and I'm really grateful to have made your acquaintance and been able to work together.
Oh, this is exciting. It really is. Earlier, you said to me you wanted me to make sure I asked you what made you go from graphic design to fine art. You said that was important.
Well, it is important. I think it's interesting too. I was a graphic designer for over 35 years, and I still do some of that, mostly for nonprofits and for people that I really enjoy working with. I'm at that point in my life where if you're not nice to work with, I'd really rather not work with you.
Just get rid of them.
We understand. We understand perfectly.
Sometimes you have to fire a client. That just has to happen.
Amen.
Anyway, about 8 years ago, my husband, David, was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. And that was really devastating for all of us, for our whole family. And in the struggle, trying to discover what he was struggling with, it took a long time to diagnose that. And so we went to several different clinics. We ended up at Mayo Clinic in Phoenix, or Scottsdale. And I remember sitting in the waiting room while he was having some tests run, and in the waiting room there was this enormous, it must have been an 8 feet by 8 feet painting of a floral, and I was, as you can imagine, a little bit on pins and needles, hoping for a positive, treatable problem. And that painting transported me to a place of peace. And at that time, I felt if I could do that, if I could use the gift that I have been given to share that kind of peacefulness, that kind of transport to a place that would bring calm, that would take stress away, that would help people to connect to nature, that was something that was worthy, that I really felt like I felt called to do it. And I wasn't quite sure how to do it. Well, at that time, the studio, or the ad agency that I was working for and had been working for 16 years, was going through some changes, and we needed to, it was a good time for us to make that change. And so I phased out that studio in the agency office in Poplar Bluff and opened a studio in my home. And I still did some of the design work for them from time to time, and that worked out really well. With digital formats, you can work from anywhere, and that's how I managed to have clients. I have one client in New Zealand, I have several in Washington, D.C., I have some in Canada. So it's easy to work around the world, and so that made that easy. And then as I focused on my fine art, I actually thought that fine art would not be all that different than graphic design, but I found that they are completely different worlds. And the way that you market them, the graphic design has a job to do. Typically, you're explaining something, you're selling something, you're helping people understand something, you're educating your audience, that sort of thing. So when you go to fine art, though, you're trying to make an emotional connection to people. And so when you're marketing that, that's a completely different proposal. That's a different approach. You touch people in different ways. And it was remarkable to me that when people would buy my art, they would come and they would be so excited to have bought my art. They would say, I am so excited. I look down the hall and there's your painting on the wall. And it just makes me smile and makes me feel good every day. I am just astounded that my art can do that. And apparently it can.
Oh, I know it can. I purchased a little miniature Eiffel Tower painting, and it sits on my dresser. and it is the ray of sunshine in my life. Every time I look at it, I just go, oh, that's pretty.
There it is.
There
yeah.
it is. And the Eiffel Tower is in my life.
Yeah.
But yes, absolutely. I agree 100% with that. And
That-
then we bought another painting, which I gave to my husband as a Christmas present because he's so difficult to buy for, as most men are. But anyway, and it sits in our dining room, and it is that ray of sunshine.
Mm.
It really is. It gives you a sense of, well, first of all, it gives you a sense of being there, which I like, and it's comforting.
Well, and with your connection to Europe, that particular painting is from Bayeux, France, and it shows the canals that go through the city, and it really was just exquisitely beautiful. The whole landscape of France is just breathtaking, and
I know.
you know, and my husband and I took a trip in August to Scotland and then London and Paris, and in that we were going through the countryside, and I got so much material to work from, and it was really exciting. And I don't know if we want to get into this, but I had for the last 3 years, once a year, I'll take a month and I'll do 30 paintings in 30 days. It's a discipline that helps me.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I don't know if I can do anything for 30 days in a row.
Well, I'll have to say, it's been a learning experience, and I actually have written a tiny book about it because I had been asked, how do you do this? Why would you do this? And I had seen other artists do this exercise, and fine artists are driven to create. However, sometimes, just like writers, we'll get a block and you get stuck. And in an effort to get unstuck 3 years ago, I looked into this discipline and I thought this will help me move forward. And so I went through all the materials that I have. I have boxes and boxes of material from digital files and hard print files and things like that that I had been wanting to do for a long time. And so I pulled those out. I pulled out about 35 and matched canvases to those and then set myself up to this. And then I told the world via my Facebook page that I was going to do this as an accountability so that I would have to do it. It was really interesting the way it worked out. When I started, I was really excited. So this is going to be so much fun. I have all this work I've been meaning to do. I get to do it. And then, so I got started and it was great for about a week. And then it started to be difficult. It got to be hard. And I tell people who are interested in this or any endeavor, when you take on something that's a challenge, it's difficult, it's going to be hard in the middle. It's going to get hard.
Yes, it is.
It is. And you're going to have challenges. You're going to have things that you didn't anticipate. And you'll have things that you have to work through. And I'm trained long enough and hard enough. I knew I had the skills. I knew the approach I needed to take. And so I worked through that and then I finished it up. I learned a lot from that though. And the next year when I tried it, I said, I'm going to set myself up for success. And so I thought ahead, and I think this is true of almost anything you do. If you're doing a fundraising campaign, if you're doing a project of any kind, if you're doing a marketing campaign, a radio show, you want to set yourself up for success. So you try to anticipate as many problems as possible, and then you set up solutions for those so that going forward you'll do better. And then after you get done, you look at what you did and you say, what went well, what didn't go well, how can I fix it, what are the steps that I need to take to make that work. And so I did that the second year. And then this last, when did I do that? It was in September. I think it was September. I did my 30-30 this year. And it was the best sequence yet. And it helps that I had all this material from Europe. So that's breathtaking in the first place. But those little tiny paintings that you talked about, they're 3 by 3 inches. They come on a tiny easel. They're very affordable, and they can go anywhere. And I think that's maybe part of the beauty of it. You don't really have to find a place for them.
Yeah, you don't. It's not like sometimes you buy a beautiful painting and you want to put it in a prominent place in your home. You want to look at it all the time. Well, these are so small that they can put on. You can put them on a dresser. You can put them on a counter. You can put them in your purse, for crying out loud, and take it with you if you want to.
Yeah, I have some on the windowsill in the kitchen, so they can go.
And they're adorable, and they have the warmth of the place that you're looking at. I mean, I know that because I got one.
Thanks.
How do you find those then? In other words, do you have your sell through your website?
I
or-
do. I have a website. It's a relatively new platform for me. I rebuilt the site in May. The new platform is through Art Storefronts, which has some wonderful features. The site is thecreeksidestudio.com. And on that, you can look at original works. You can order prints from my work, and there is merchandise like mugs,
Coffee mugs.
Coffee mugs. I just gave Kyle a coffee mug.
Mhm.
She loves that. And I also have some things that are called graphic inspiration, and those are based on I have photography, and then I'll have an inspirational saying on that, and you can get that in a print, on a mug, on a T-shirt, on a pillow top. And those were actually it's kind of funny. Those came from I used to be part of an entrepreneurial group out of Connecticut,
Mm-hmm.
and several of the women in that group, it was almost all women, were promoters and of their products, and they wanted. Well, we all had these mantras that we used from time to time that would help us move forward, and so I started typing them up and tacking them up around my office, and I found out that other people were doing that too, and I thought, I'd kind of like for these to look nicer, and so I put some against photography, and then my friends in that group said they wanted some too. So I thought, oh, we have a problem. So there's a need and we have a solution. So that's on the site too. Anyway, all those things are available, and you can have your things matted. You can just get the prints for the originals, or you can have them matted and framed, and that can become matted too.
You had mentioned earlier a book that you had written.
Yeah, that was the 30/30.
Yeah, is that also available on that
No,
website?
it's actually not produced yet. I have to talk to you about that.
Okay.
But it's about that process of doing 30 paintings in 30 days. And what was interesting, and I alluded to this a little bit, is that I found that the process I use, setting yourself up for success, anticipating problems, finding solutions ahead of time, having a review process at the end, that sequence is useful in almost any endeavor, almost
That's what I'd
any
like to
challenge that you
see,
take
yeah.
on, any
Yeah.
project that you take on, that sequence. And so in the book, I work on exploring that, um, describing it, looking at the process that I use to improve it each time.
What were some of the things in there that you did put in there that, people should take a look at and think about when they're going through trying to get a project done or doing the 30/30?
I think that mess in the middle, I think that challenge, that stuck place, it's so easy to stop when you get to that place. It's so easy to say, oh, this is too hard. I'm not going to do this. Or like with a painting, artists are always struggling to not overwork a piece of art because if you overwork it, it dies. And that's always a danger. With acrylics, gratefully, you can paint out and start over. If you're using watercolor, you can't do that so well. But anyway, it happens with anything. My late husband was a pastor, a Methodist pastor, and we went through several either building projects, fundraising campaigns, capital campaigns, things like that. And in those, the same thing happens. You start, everybody's excited. We're so, the goal is so exciting. The light at the end of the tunnel is just wonderful. And then kind of in the middle, it becomes a bit of a slog, becomes a challenge.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'd like to get back to you helping other authors. Okay.
Sure.
There's a question here. How long have you been doing illustration and graphic design? Let's get the audience to know you.
Okay.
How long has it been?
I started as a graphic designer in the late 70s, 1970s, and so I've been doing that since then. I've done illustrations pretty much the whole time, off and on. I've done the fine art for about the last 7 or 8 years, and as I said, I have clients all over the country. I started out in Missouri, in the Kansas City area generally, and then moved to Chicago. Worked in several companies there. Then moved to California. Worked in Fresno and then Sacramento, and then eventually came back to Missouri. And it's interesting. I would, like Gael, I find people who are in the same industry, and then they'll introduce me to other people, and that's how I ended up with Washington DC connection. That's how I ended up with a Canadian connection. That's how I ended up with a New Zealand connection in the whole industry. So no matter where you are, that's one of the lovely things. I can live in the backwoods of Missouri and still work anywhere.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What is your background in publishing?
Well, most of the time I have been on the back end. I'll lay out the books. I'll do the illustrations. I'll set up the graphic design, music, photography for cover art and that sort of thing. We did some of the like finding the ISBN numbers, getting the barcodes,
Right.
getting all those technical things.
Yeah.
And then work with the templates from the printer, the actual publisher, and just set it up to match that. And it's graphic design is graphic design. Books are not all that different. So that's how. And so I worked with them in California, Texas, Canada, New Zealand, and Canada. I went to Canada. Sorry.
How do you work with your authors on maybe getting inspiration? I mean, sometimes authors can help you, and sometimes it can be a real struggle trying to get information from them.
I have to say I've been very lucky. I've had very few people who were difficult to work with. Not that nobody was difficult to work with. Some of the books that I've done were through a speakers bureau, and many times speakers will write a book on their subject matter that they do their talks on, and I would do the covers and so forth. They would often have an idea, like the subject matter often would have a visual reference for whatever it was, and so I would come up with some ideas and I work back and forth, sometimes in person. Most often it would be via phone calls, emails, Zoom calls, that sort of thing. And so we work back and forth. I have about a 10-step process of working with the author if there are illustrations involved, because that's a whole new thing. Photography is a little more cut and dried. You can look at lots of photography and say, here's the one I like, here's the one I don't like. With an illustration, it's more, it's a little harder. It's something I have to create. And so I'll talk to the author, they'll have ideas, I'll have ideas. I usually do a few samples of the work. They'll look at my work. I have lots of work online. I have a portfolio of illustrations that I can share. People will look at that if they like my style, if they like that sort of thing, then we'll move forward, and then I'll do some samples for them. We'll talk about the cover, we'll talk about inside. They'll tell me about their content. Maybe it's a story, and there are particular points in the story that need clarification, or they need illustration to bring them to life, and so we'll go back and forth about that and brainstorm what some of those things might be. And then I'll do some little illustrations, little thumbnails we call them because they're small, of however many are needed, and so we come up with the concept there, and then I'll flesh that out a little further, and then I get approval for the preliminary drawings. I'll do a color study if there's color involved, and then we'll execute the final pieces, typically chronologically as they occur in the story, but not always. And I'll use a particular medium that is appropriate for whatever.
I'm confused. Now, you do graphics for authors.
Mhm.
All right. And these are additional things you do for authors. Am I wrong? Additional components to their books or
The
whatever?
graphic design, it depends. Illustration
Okay.
and graphic design are not the same, and I think that maybe for a lot of people that might be confusing. Graphic design is the actual act of laying the book out so that it can be printed.
Okay.
You set the
Okay.
type, you set up the pages, you figure out how the pagination is going to work, you figure out how many pages it needs to be. You have to multiply a book in sets of 4 because that's how the paper is bound. You can't just add one page to a thing. It's called a signature. Each set of 4 is called a signature. And different printers will have different qualifications for that. And then whether it's a saddle stitched or perfect bound, you figure out what the binding is going to be, how many copies you need, how many, there are some standard sizes for books. So you set all those things out. Again, you add like the barcodes and the ISBN numbers and all that technical stuff. The illustration is the illumination of the text, and that's different. I usually do those either as a drawing, an illustration, a watercolor, could be an acrylic. I use whatever medium is appropriate for that subject matter, and then I'll make a scan of that, and then that makes it digital. Then we can put it in the layout, which is the graphic design part.
You're listening to The Author's Edge with Guy Alfreer and Bob Price, coming to you weekly on Mondays at 3 p.m. on KWRH 92.9 FM and KXOK 102.9 FM and AM. And Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. nationwide on My Genre Radio Network.
100 cities,
100 cities.
100 cities.
25 million potential
You
listeners.
know, it's also easy to find usradionetwork.com, and there you can access all of our shows. But you can also find our shows on our website, authors-edge.com.
Good job.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So, what do you enjoy most about working with authors?
And authors are, for the most part, really interesting people. And I think it's really fun to collaborate with people in different creative endeavors. And we kind of bring together the skills that we each have. And so far, people have been very, very happy with my work. And so it's always exciting to do something and somebody will say, oh my gosh, I hadn't imagined it quite that way. And so I'll take their vision and match it with whatever comes to my mind. And when I share that with them, then we can illuminate the story, make it stronger with either a powerful cover or a wonderful inside illustration, or in some way make the story stronger. So I really enjoy that part of enhancing what another creative person has done.
can you give us the steps that you follow working with an author? I think that maybe knowing those or helping authors understand the steps would help them.
Mm-hmm. Well, most of
I was going to say, plus we probably will wind up right on top of the break. So
Okay.
whatever we don't do on this side,
we're doing
we'll do on the second half.
Sure.
We'll just bring it like that.
that. Okay.
So we're not being impolite or anything.
never implied.
Yeah.
Most of the work that I get comes from a referral. So typically there'll be an introduction. And I'm a member of several arts organizations. People sometimes find me there. And so the author will have looked at some of my work and they'll decide that my work is appropriate for their subject matter. And so we'll talk about the story, we'll talk about the content. If it's sometimes I've done some business books and things like that. Sometimes there'll be charts and graphs that need to be involved. And so we'll talk about what the style that's appropriate. And we'll start there and come up with a style that we both feel good about. And then I'll do some sample pieces and they'll see how they feel about that. And so it's a very collaborative. We'll work back and forth to make sure that at each step of the process, the author feels good about what I'm doing and I'll feel confident that I'm supplying exactly what they need.
So, hey Arnold, I think we're getting close to break, aren't we? So you know what? I think we're going to go to break. You know, I mean, we're close to break and we're on the break. We'll go to break. So we'll have a few announcements. We come back. We'll continue talking with Roseanne at the Creekside Studio of Art and Design. Got the okay. All right, so stay tuned. A few commercials, won't be painful, and then we'll be right back.
If you go to the website and you just put in Creekside Studio, you end up in an architectural firm in Colorado.
Okay.
So that's why it's important.
Okay. Well, and you know what? You're going to ask her how people get a hold of you to do business. You can plug your commercial. Okay. That's cool. You did a good job of coming in on that break too. You did a good job.
As a radio industry veteran,
Yeah, I have to start rambling.
12 years ago.
Once I
Ah,
start talking, it's really hard to get me to stop.
no, you did,
We don't have any trouble talking.
Oh, no.
yeah, but no. Well, you're gonna keep going with these questions, right? Okay,
Yeah, I
so,
have them right here.
okay, do you want me to bring it back and then when you're
Well,
doing it?
I wanna finish what she started.
No, I mean, but we gotta bring the show back first.
Right, oh, right,
You want me to do that?
well, yeah, you can do that.
Just so you get used to it then, because next week, you're gonna, or week after, you're gonna do it on your own. And I'll be remote, listening to you and everything.
Well, as long as you keep me on track of time. Even in my classroom, I was terrible about time.
Time.
Even in my classroom, I would get rolling on something and then suddenly the bell would ring and there I am standing and I was like,
That's not easy.
yeah. I never got my attendance done correctly. No, I never got my attendance done on time. It was always done correctly, but it was always late because I could never, bell rings, I don't wanna get in there and get my, because I'm excited. So, yeah, time was never, I just get on a roll and my mouth just keeps running and the rest of me tries to catch up.
Hmm?
How'd you do this? What do you-
I went to my clock, and then I went to my counter on my clock. So
Your stopwatch?
stopwatch, so see what's the stopwatch, world clock, timer. So I can either do a timer, countdown, or I can do the stopwatch. Like when he comes back, I'll start it up again. See, I just started, and it just keeps
Yeah,
going.
because the red, green, I don't know how long each one of those things last.
What's that?
Really, the green and the yellow and the red there,
3, 2, and 1.
3, 2, and 1.
Green is 3.
Like I
Hey
said,
Arnold is
no
green,
sense in time.
3,
Yeah.
yellow 2,
And
which
red
is 3, which is 2, which is 1.
Would you rather I keep
3, 2, 1. Yeah.
Or should I-
Yeah,
3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute.
Got it. Okay.
Should I keep talking or is it okay to stop for a little bit? I cut that a little short.
No, she's gonna bring it
Yeah,
back
I'm
to
gonna
what,
bring it back.
No, I know, but I mean, it just seems like.
No, you keep talking.
oh no, we're not done with you yet.
Oh, yeah, we do have to make sure we throw your paintings in there.
Okay, I'll talk about stuff.
Yeah,
You wanna finish this first? and
yeah,
then
we're
do-
gonna finish this first and then,
So we can say, those of you on the radio won't be able to see this, but let's describe some styles and if you're on Facebook.
And we may
And
not
it's
get
like
through every question, which is
Facebook and
fine.
YouTube.
which is fine, yeah.
Yeah, hang on. Okay,
Okay, so you're gonna finish up what you were saying and then,
It's actually the last one. Question 10. Type of step.
oh, right. The sex, but I wanna,
No.
and then talk about the paintings. I wanna get the paintings.
okay. Well, 1 minute? Okay, why don't I bring it back and then we'll flip it to you.
Okay.
And I'd like to hear you ask a few more questions if
I like
you can.
that. Another question, one of the questions I like is this explaining to authors how they find an illustrator.
Yeah.
What are good tips
That's a really good question. When do you wanna do that? After this one or?
after you do the entry? Yeah, once you can finish what we're
Well, and then we
talking
can
about.
talk about the paintings.
Then one more question, then we can talk about the paintings.
Okay. So we're gonna finish this, we're gonna take a couple questions from you,
Yeah, the illustrator thing I was really interested in.
okay?
Okay,
And then,
15 seconds.
okay. I'll welcome it back and I'll flip it to you.
Okay.
You ready for that? Okay.
Yep.
Let me know when. And welcome back. You're listening to the Author's Edge radio show coming to you every week on KXOK 102.9 FM and KWRH LP 92.9 FM. And it's also on it's comes to you on Fridays at Mondays at 3 p.m. And then on Nationwide It's on the My Genre, GNRE Radio Network. It comes to you Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. Same show that you're hearing today. We replay the following week. If you want to see the YouTube of this show, go to ksok.com and you will see this show. You'll see the visual of the show, which is kind of cool. Okay, that's a new thing for us that we haven't done before. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to one of our co-hosts, Dale.
Oh, thank you. You were in the middle of talking about your 10 steps as to working with an author.
Right.
Okay, you want to finish that up?
Sure. We had talked about how people find an illustrator, and actually we'll get into that a little bit more later. But once somebody has found me, they've decided that I probably can work with them. We look at styles and how the approach is going to fit nicely with the content of the book. And then we'll look at the content, and the author will often have a handful of places in the book which need clarification, or they need additional information, or there is a visual that the context calls up.
Like children's books.
Like children's books in particular. Also in some other books that I've done, I've done some things for nature and environmental groups, and there'll be some information that they need either about. I did a series of endangered raptors, some hawks and birds and things like that, and then I did some things in California in particular with again owls, foxes, endangered species, and so you want to have those identified in the work. So we add those to the thing. And so it's a very collaborative process. We take step by step. We'll take a look. I'll do a sketch. You say, yeah, that's what I need. Often there is something in particular that needs to be shown, some aspect of the subject matter that's important. I just want to make sure that I get that in there. This is not always, it's not as obvious. So we go through that, and then I'll do some very small sketches. They're usually, 2 or 3 inches. It's just a sketch though to show how I'm going to compose it. And that's one thing, the graphic design that I have done for so many years, informs that composition. And the fine art informs that composition so that it's strong. And so I'll do sketches that way, and then once those sketches are approved, then I do the final drawing. I think a lot of times authors are worried that they're going to hire somebody, they'll tell them what to do, and then they don't see it again until the final product comes out. And that's kind of scary because it's not an inexpensive proposition, and you want to make sure that what you get answers the need that you have. And so I want to make sure that there are no surprises. So that's my philosophy. I think most illustrators work that way. And so when I do the final product, you're going to know what you're going to get ahead of time. And so far, I've been very lucky, very fortunate that authors are pretty happy with what I do. So that's good.
What kind of tips do you have for authors, to find illustrators, or what tips do you think would help an author?
Okay. Well, every illustrator has a style. They'll have a methodology, and you want to find somebody who matches, their style matches your content. Whether it's a story, if you have maybe, like I said, a business book, or if you have like my environmental books, you want the style to match the content of the book. You want it to be friendly. You want them to mutually enhance each other. So there are lots of organizations that illustrators belong to. There are some national ones in St. Louis where we're recording this. There are some art guilds, art associations, organizations like St. Louis. Best of Missouri Hands is an organization that I belong to, which represents all of the arts, drama, visual arts, and dance. And so you can look at the portfolio of those different artists and see the work that they're doing and make sure that it fits what you need. And then every printer I know has their favorite graphic designer or artist to work with, and lots of other, anybody who's in the production industry is going to have people that they know. And artists know other artists, and other authors who have been published will have people that they know. And so I think that's often a good way to go, because you'll know that the person that you're being referred to is somebody they felt good about working with. Does that answer your question?
That does.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
You're welcome, you're welcome.
There's another question on here. What is the one thing an author should not, like I thought was an interesting question, do when working with an illustrator? What should an author not do?
I think it's really important not to come into the project with a very rigid point of view.
Mhm.
You don't want to micromanage a creative person because I think you'll miss an opportunity. So many times, and I've seen this happen over and over again, a person who has written something will have a very clear picture of what they want. And you come to the artist and you share that. And that's fine. I think that's a good thing to know what you want. However, you need to be open to the possibilities of what that creative person can bring to the project. Very often, what the author is saying is so very clear to them. They have such a crystal clear picture of it, but they don't realize that everybody else doesn't see it the same way. They hear the words, they don't necessarily see
The
the
same
thing
image.
the same, the image is the same. And so the illustrator can help inform that and add some clarity, enhance the vision, enhance the content of the book that way. And I think that's really important to leave that door open to serendipity, to opportunities for different ways of looking at the content. And I usually or often will have more than one option in the samples that I share with the author about like we could do it this way or we could do it this way. I had you'll look at different options of how to render something or how to show something, how to compose the pages and so forth, depending on what your goal is for that work.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Robert, you said you wanted to ask something? Go ahead,
No,
ask.
I think that really what part of you need to understand is that you're a fine artist.
Mm-hmm.
And in addition to doing illustrations for books.
Mhm.
And maybe you can tell us a little bit about how that work influences each other, and maybe the audience can't see it, radio audience can't see it, but we'll have it on video.
We'll have it on Facebook,
Right,
Mhm.
right.
kidsok.com, right, Mark? So you go to YouTube after today, if you go to YouTube after today, and we usually do Facebook, but we have this exciting, I love YouTube, we're doing it, that's great. So you do on YouTube, so whatever, when you got some painting you're gonna
I
show.
do. I do.
Yeah, so when you're gonna do it now, I mean, you may as well do it, because you only got about 15 minutes of the show's
Okay.
over. And I wanna make sure we get that plug in for
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. I will say that I have three galleries that represent me. One of them is here in St. Louis, Campanera Gallery at 6509 Delmar Boulevard in University City. And in my hometown, Poplar Bluff, Artfully Framed represents me. And in Austin, Texas, the Ma Gallery represents my work. So I have three galleries. And in talking about my work, I know that the radio audience can't see it, but I think if I describe the styles and the context, that'll help you see a little bit about
Well, then go to your
what we do.
website.
And they
see
can go
it.
to my website.
Yeah,
And that website again is?
thecreeksidestudio.com. And
Okay.
well, here, we'll just get started.
you may as well, because we'll run out of time, and pick your favorites. I mean,
Okay.
I love them
excited.
all, I'm looking right at them.
Um, I'm gonna actually start with a print.
Okay, and by the way, the camera that's taking pictures is right there to your left. Okay,
This piece is a print, and these are available on my website. This piece was something that I was kind of excited to do. My brother actually is quite a good photographer, and he had done a picture of sumac, and he said, "Sis, I think you might enjoy doing a painting from this." So I did, and I was really excited about it sort of has an Asian look to it, and that's kind of different for me. Whoops.
That's okay.
our boss is helping us out.
Anyway, the interesting thing about this particular piece is that it's become kind of a signature piece for me, and I didn't anticipate that. But I've got it on mugs, and I have it on lots of my promotional materials. It just shows really well, and there's kind of a universality to it. But that's one of the prints that's available, and the warm and cool colors is one of the things that particularly appeals to me about that piece. So that's one. Okay, the next one I'm showing is, I call this one the Three Sisters. There's a low water bridge on the farm where I lived for several years, and many years, and my parents lived there before me. It's been in the family for about 60 or 70 years. And the creek is 10 Mile Creek, and it's representative to me of the lifeblood of the area. And it's a very lush green painting.
That's coming up on Cancel Care right
Okay,
now.
great.
There we go.
There it is. Okay.
See, if you wave, it'll see you.
All right.
Okay.
It's very lush and green. I always felt like the three trees that are there were sort of they were keeping watch. They were guardians of that very special place for me. My children played there. I played there. We fished there. It was like I say, it's kind of an anchor for that area, and the creek is therapeutic. When you go there, you hear the babbling sounds of the brook, the beautiful reflections in the water, and so that's the kind of painting that I really enjoy doing.
Got another one. Mark's did a wonderful job. Thank you so much. He's holding those up to the camera. So.
Okay, here's one more that is a little different. It's got a person in it. I didn't know that I could do people. I have to be honest with you. Landscapes are more forgiving. When you do a person, it needs to look like the person. So you have a lot less leeway. This actually happens to be my granddaughter, and I worked from some photography from a phenomenal photographer, Jennifer Krieger, who is in Poplar Bluff. But
I'm
that's
watching us, watching you.
that's in that same place.
That's great.
On the creek at the low water bridge, and Charlotte is there. Just again, it's that peacefulness, it's that wonderful glow of the reflection of the light in the water, and I find it very therapeutic, very calming. It's so tranquil. It's so tranquil.
Yeah, all of your paintings have that same quality of being calm, tranquil, full of light.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's something that I just love.
Thank you. I had a friend say that my paintings were a peaceful retreat.
Yes, they are.
And I thought,
Absolutely.
well, if I can do that, that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
So
So we are on YouTube as well.
Yeah, we are. CancelK.com
There we
on
go.
YouTube, and I'm looking at us right now
oh,
live.
great.
Great.
Isn't that exciting?
It is exciting.
I know.
Yay.
You'll be able to find it on the Author's Edge
Right.
website
Yeah.
also,
I just decided to pull it up, and here it is.
under archives, so
Yeah.
we'll have those
The
videos
wonders of
available.
modern technology.
Yeah, we got about, in this show, I think 12 to 14 minutes or less to go.
Okay.
How much time do we got, boss?
If anybody's there.
Oh, let's just go for it, okay?
All right.
Because we have another show that's coming on after you.
Okay,
we
so
wanna
can
get
you
to
share
it.
a little bit about how a writer can help their illustrator?
Yeah,
Oh,
good
How can a
question.
writer help an illustrator? I can't draw.
no, and that, well, actually, I think everybody has a creative part of them that comes out in some fashion. For some people, it might be writing. For some people, it might be cooking, or it might be landscaping. I have seen some very creative accountants, so you just never know where that creativity is going to show itself. But to allow the illustrator to use some creativity, by the same token, I think it's really important to try to keep communication open. Make sure that you share, like if you have a nudge or a feeling that something's not quite right, be sure to express that to your illustrator and let them know, because in all likelihood that can be addressed, it can be shifted or changed or adapted in some way so that it meets your goal, because that's the whole point of having an illustrator. The goal is to clarify, to amplify, to enhance the story or the book, the content. So just keep the communication open, go with the flow, try to allow some serendipity.
Okay, why don't we have 10 minutes to go. Why don't we,
Okay, why don't we find out what you're working on now?
yeah, that'd be a good
What are you
one.
working on
I
now?
have a couple of things. I'm working on Sprout. with
Sprout.
Ralph Wayne Freer.
Yes.
And
I know him.
you do. He's such a nice guy.
Isn't he?
Yeah.
I think I'll meet him.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have to say, when I came to Public Book and I was working as a fine artist, I was so excited that somebody else has a gallery. And I thought, this is cool. I'm an artist with a gallery. And when I saw Ralph's work, his art is just so exciting to me. It's so different than anything I create because it's very hardline, it's Art Deco, it's modern, it's expressive, it's playful. It's very playful.
He is very playful.
And the added dimensions of, he's got these giant pull toys that are, they're 3 or 4 feet tall and they have a little pull thing on there and they have where you can drag them around with you now on wheels. I just find that marvelous. Anyway, so I'm working with Ralph on that, on his book Sprout, which is really fun. And it's a little more content heavy. It doesn't have as many pictures as some children's books. I'll work on that one. And then I have, on my personal level, at my studio, I'm working on a painting for a dear friend of a cabin that he built with his father in the woods in central Missouri. And that one is really exciting to me. I'm really pleased to be able to do that one. And then I have a new series that I'm starting, or actually it's more of a continuation of the series that I started last year, which is called Peace Like a River. And my husband and I both really enjoy the rivers in southern Missouri, and we spend a lot of time on them. We get camping or fishing or swimming or all the things you do on the river. And those images are so soothing. You can see by the things I've shown so far that I'm drawn to that. So the Peace Like a River series is continuing. And I have, as an artist, when you work with a gallery, you'll have a body of work that you take to them, and they'll show that body of work. And over time, some of the work will sell, some of the work won't. And the artist then will go back from time to time, usually every 6 months or 12 months, and any work that hasn't sold, you can rotate in some of the newer work that you're doing, and then take some of the other work and either move it to another gallery or to take it back to your studio or whatever. And it's really interesting when you move work from one gallery to another. Sometimes that's all it takes, and then the work sells. It's like it's a fresh thing in this new place. But the work that I'm doing now is my color palette has changed. I've taken a few classes from some artists that I admire, and I think it has. I'm being more bold as I'm being more confident in the work that I do. And I was just telling Niall on the way to this session that I have some ideas about something I really want to try. I'd like to work large. Some of my canvases, the biggest one I've done so far was 4 feet by 12 feet. So that's quite large, and it's in 3 panels. And that work of using your gross motor skills, your whole arm, your whole body, and doing the work is really gratifying. And I want to use that large scale, really large brushes, and just get more involved in it and let go of being so representational. Not that I don't want you to be able to see what you're looking at, to recognize what you're seeing, because I do want it to look like a landscape, because most of the time that's what I'm working on. I really enjoy that option of taking it, like if you want it to look perfectly representational, take a photograph. If you want it to be a painting, it needs to be a painting. You need to bring something more to the subject matter. So I'm kind of excited about that. Use bigger brushes, bigger emotions, bolder colors, textures, things like that. I think it's going to be fun. I have to be very brave and kind of launch, and if it doesn't go well, I have to be okay with that.
Well,
So-
like I said, jump in and figure out how to swim after.
Yeah, in the last 5 minutes of the show for today,
Mhm.
what would you like the audience to know about your business? What do you want them to come away with from today?
Oh, I think it's really exciting that you have this platform, this forum for authors and illustrators to get together, to get to know each other, to find out how to work together, how to be mutually beneficial in their relationship. And as far as my business is concerned, I am, like I said, I have a new web platform that I think is exciting to me because of the new opportunities that are there. And I'm happy for people to see that. The galleries that I work with have been really good to me, and I appreciate those relationships. The Company Gallery here, company.com, the Mall Gallery, themallgallery.com in Austin, Texas, and artfullyframed.com in Poplar Bluff. They have all been so good to work with, I'm just so grateful for that. So thank you.
What artists inspire you?
You know, coming up, I really love the Hudson River artists who worked in the Hudson River Valley in New York, and that was 100 years ago. And their work is just rich and bold, and actually it even goes back further than that into the late 1700s, early 1800s. They went out into the western U.S. when there were it was hard to get a camera out there, and they did these magnificent paintings of like Yellowstone and the Rockies, and just art that takes your breath away. And that kind of is like, oh my gosh, if I could do anything that even approach that, that would be great. But the Impressionists too, the French Impressionists who were so bold with their color and so free and loose with their brushstrokes, and just so exciting and so beautiful. I wanted to kind of marry those two things together, the landscapes and then the bold color.
Okay, well, I think we're gonna wrap it up today. Thank you, Roseanne, for being on the show.
Oh, it was great to be here. Thank you.
Be sure to tune back in every week when Kyle and Bob will bring you the Author's Edge. I was pleased to be part of it today, and we look forward to you coming back again on the air with other people. So thank you, audience. Guys, I think we're going to wrap it up.
Well, we're pleased to have you.
We're pleased, we are super pleased to have you here. And we are super pleased to do this show.
What a great
Well, I
day.
think we're off to a great start. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
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 That's it.
Yeah, we did it.
Did you see, Mark, did you see Stacy out there?
Yeah, he's here.
Okay, I gotta get the other people in here if you don't
Okay,
mind.
we're rocking and rolling.
I'll talk to you in the next couple of days.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Okay,
I got some ideas I want to share with you.
okay.
Okay, good job.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job. I'm proud of you too. I'm very proud of you too.
Well, thank you.
Rose, for a pleasure meeting you.
And you. Sorry, bye.
It's all right. Thank you.
I didn't know you were a Jayhawk.
Oh, just for a minute. I have to say, it was the best part of my graphic design presentation. The school there is,
You had a back up. Yeah, that. We're gonna head up. Okay. So if I will turn it down, turn down.
Yeah.
I don't have to look, he's lined up on this.
That's
So that's fine.
Four.
That means a trip is in your future.
gentlemen, it was a pleasure.
Thank you. You too. Great.
I
Gift
wish you
card.
luck.
Okay, cool. Thank you. You too. Yeah, that's cool.
I'm sorry.
I know, it's very cool.
Yeah.
In fact,
Oh,
if you want
this
to
one's
get
fine.
some,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. There you go.
Okay, Stacy. Little vacation from
The Army grip one sounds wonderful.
Oh, it was, is. My daughter now lives there.
Okay.
Her husband.
Okay.
And, so I'm still connected, very connected. And actually, I own most of the acres for him.
Okay, cool.
Yes,
I'll look at your work.
thank you. Could you do this on the back?
Okay.
Actually,
Okay.
wait a second.
We're slowly working out here. Moving along. So if I want to edit this, can I do this right on here and listen to it?
Yes. Mark, you have a trash can there, or is there a trash can? Yeah, there's one over here. Okay.
Thank you.
Was there any more in your room?
Yeah, my dad is cool.
Okay. Yeah. I'll bring you a book next time.
Yes, please, thank you.
I didn't think it through.
Oh, you're fine.
There you go.
Mark, nice meeting you.
Arnold,
nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
Okay. Good job, man.
Yes, it was nice meeting you guys, and
Okay.
we shall see you,
Hey.
well, at the very latest, on the 17th.
Stan, good to see you. Take care. Thank you,
Okay,
Ralph.
thank you. Bye-bye.
Now, this show airs nationwide on the John Meridian Network, Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. and on 7 p.m. Each week on their show, they help authors. This is what I hate.
Can I turn them?
Transform our
Yeah,
lives
I'll
and
bring this.
imagination. This
Can I
is the
turn
Monica
them?
Rick. Okay.
Okay.
Just that one. Don't touch it. Pull it off.
Yeah, Q is fine.
He's fine.
All right, I didn't know that, sorry.
Dr. Stan. Hey, come on in. Hey, John?
I'm John, nice to meet you.
Yeah, we'll get to it in a second.
What, is this yours? I just set that. there.
Okay.
Is it okay?
No.
Hey, Mark, here. This is your copy.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
This is your copy.
Oh, appreciate it.
In the book.
There was a,
How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing today?
Oh, I'm struggling, but I'm
there was a
okay.
woman who came back.
Glad you put me in one
I
spot.
told her to come
Don't
back.
move me a lot, I'm okay. And I have a driver taking me to and from the studio, which helps. I had surgeries and things. Back time here is a blessing, you know?
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, I got a question. You ran the lines really close together, and I wanted to, it's hard to read that. I'm confused.